When in the course of Minecraft events, it becomes necessary for a battle to commence, then pow! Someone's gonna make a skybase. What is a skybase? Noun, a structure located in the sky, generally used for a defensive purpose. I see. Let's look at the average skybase then. Bam! This is my stick, and I will be using it to point at stuff. Bam! Here's the skybase. It's terrible. Why? Because it's not a height limit, because it's too small, because it's too easy to attack, because it's boring to attack, and most importantly, it doesn't even look cool. In fact, I hate this so much! That's what it gets! So, how do I define the quality of a skybase? It's simple. How well does it function in a civ event? How well does it handle fire resistance? How well does it handle towering? How well does it handle elytra? And how cool does it look? If all of these are good, you generally have a good skybase. Let's move to something more interesting. Get this wall on my face. Alright, here's the next one. Here's the next skybase. Yes. As you can see here, there's a bit more going on here. We split this into cross sections and a version without lava. How this version works is that there is now a curtain of lava around the base, as well as a little bit of a lava pyramid at the bottom. The purpose of this is simple. In events such as this, lava is a very unique obstacle. This is because in events you don't have a lot of resources. What this means is that lava can actually be nearly impossible to get through if you cannot reach the source. A base such as this can only be attacked from the top or by figuring out how to go through the center. Going through the center, however, will take a long amount of time and give defenders a long time to respond. This means that we cut out one of the largest flaws of a skybase, which is people bridging up from below. But the issue is, this design is not perfect. People can still manage to get through the center if they're smart. One method is ender pearls, another method is elytra, but most players aren't even going to have that in any event. But the most powerful method is going to be a water bucket. The lava currents have a dire flaw. They leave a sort of path network underneath them. This path network allows such that if a person were to water bucket into this path network and then get into it, they could bypass the lava defense and either sneak all the way to the top or get into the center if they know how to properly handle the situation. Due to the proximity from the center to the center of spiral, once a person gets into the center path, they can probably just build an opening. As such, this is the core flaw of the tower. There were various attempts to build this tower, but before we even got to that, I eventually upgraded the tower so much that we have what is the next version. Wall. Move. Good. Welcome to the tower. This version was built in the Speed Silver Purge event, where it was the location of the final battle. As such, you can go watch it if you want. This version is larger than the previous, making brute forcing through it more difficult, and features an internal wall of cobblestone, which catches ender pearls. As you can see, it's not very tall. The actual version was much taller, but I have some limitations here. But the most important thing is, the version built for the Purge event was not at height limit. The tower performed perfectly in the Purge event for all goals I wanted. I wasn't actually expecting to win this. In this event, it was possible to attain fire res, yet no one breached the base using that. Instead, what brought the downfall of the base was the following. The base wasn't built to height limit. The base wasn't able to handle the legendary weapons which allowed you to teleport into it. The members of the base were far too weak against such skilled warriors. It brings a tear to my eyes, remembering back then. Anyways, it's time to move to the next level of skybases. You know the deal. Welcome to level 4! This version of the tower was built in a Sword Master Cody event, which has thus far not been publicly released. The tower has a variety of upgrades and a variety of flaws that were only found after it had dealt with 30 players attempting to attack it. Let's focus on the upgrades first. This base is now going to be extended up to height limit. There is now going to be a defense platform on the top, made generally of obsidian and glass. The bottom of the base can now be filled entirely with lava, so that attempts to attack from that angle are now completely impossible unless you want to go through 100 layers of lava. The base now features internal farms. Players can now farm inside the base and not have to run out of food. Isn't that wonderful? The lava paths, which had been a thorn in my side for a long time, have now also been addressed, as I have added what I'm calling hooks to the lava paths. These are little hooks which would block off paths at the intersections. This makes it so that even if a player gets inside these paths, they can only really go up. This is still a flaw, but it's much less horrible. Now let's move to how the base fared against 30 players attacking it. In a battle of 30 v 30, with the enemies having superior gear, after 1 hour of fighting, we whittled the enemy down until they had all either been died or hunted and surrendered. Thus, the tower won. The tower actually won. Yeah, baby, that's what I've been waiting for. This was all about. Cut the meat. So let's focus on the flaws. The anti-pearl wall was now actually acting as a weak point, because if an enemy managed to get to it, they could then use it to dig all the way up to the top. That is a debilitating issue. Players can still elytra up. Players could water tower through the inners of the base all the way to the top without us noticing. And the lava paths are still existent, just far more difficult to reach and far more difficult to capitalize on. At the beginning of this video, I mentioned the various rules. This base was built in a Civ event. This is about where I think the limit is reached for a singular person building a base. From this point onward, you are going to need a cohesive group of people working together. It's time for the final level.
Diese kleine unheimliche Insel hat mich zu einer Waffe gemacht. Wir glauben beide,
Welcome, one and all. It's taller, it's safer, it costs even more cobblestone. It's the final level. Weaknesses? Nah. Strengths? Everything. Interior farms to create food, stasis chambers, the lava paths, which were one of the biggest flaws in the overall design, have been completely removed and replaced with what is now an entirely retractable lava ocean. Because of that, we also have an additional upgrade, something I will call the Panopticon, which lets us see the whole ocean and see if any attackers are getting in with either water buckets or fire resistance. As such, there is no real way to surprise the attackers here. If you're breaking in, it is completely under the terms of the defenders, and with the terms of the defenders being that you are exceptionally delayed. What is even left to upgrade? We have defenses against tridents by building in deserts or mesa biomes. We have defenses by pearls by making it so there's no actual openings into the base unless you are going directly over the top. And we defend against elytra by having all the defenders be located where the attacker has to land. This leaves only one final route, bridging into the tower, which is the most risky way to get in. Basically, I win! But sticking gas inside tower would be kind of overpowering. I want to take a moment before this video ends to explain the events I look for that give my base the biggest advantage. I'm essentially shopping for them. The events must disable dimensions such as the Nether and the End, which would disable the fire resistance and elytra. Most events disable random mob spawns, which results in the disabling of tridents. If the event does not disable the Nether and the End, I am instead hoping it disables potions. While this is usually done to counter PvP sweats, for my case it makes it so they cannot use fire resistance. The event must feature large teams upwards of 25 players. The event must feature a minimum 4-hour grace period before fighting begins. Usually this is to give people time to build, it gives me time to build the tower. The best format for the tower is an event between the various dimensions of the end, overworld, nether, and caves, where each particular dimension is given biome-specific bonuses. In situations like this, the nether team is likely to be given infinite fire resistance, as that's the most easiest thing to give them. If the citizens of the tower have infinite fire resistance, they are essentially in a giant lava ocean where they can safely roam around, hide in the lava, and kill anyone who towers up. It is extremely overpowered and the best scenario for the tower. That is what I'm searching for. Welcome to the final scene. Basically, if you have any recommendations on how to upgrade the base, please put them in the comments. I will respond to every single one of them, because I'm interested in making this base better. Otherwise, if you would like to, subscribe or like, goodbye.